Chapter 3: Rebellion and the Shape of Balance. Episode 1: A Fracture in the Shell. Scene 1: The Flower That Could Not Tell Time.
Night lay at its deepest point over the dreamworlds, not the gentle, listening night that once carried lullabies through the leaves, but a quieter thing, smoother, carefully held in place. The forest did not dream, it rested under instruction. Across Sector 4, the maintenance pathway stretched in perfect obedience, straight, pale, uninterrupted. Its surface, compressed stone fused with a mineral sheen, reflected no moonlight of its own. It did not need to. Light here arrived on schedule. Above and below it all, Arkhon's resonance fence breathed its white noise into the land, not loud, not forceful, just enough to keep everything aligned. Roots slept, wings stilled, even the wind learned to pass without asking questions. And then, something pressed upward. At first, it was nothing more than a resistance, a stress where no stress should exist. Beneath the flawless surface of the pathway, a hairline fracture formed. So thin it did not register as damage, only as inconvenience. Stone flexed, a seam opened, and through it, impossibly, a shoot emerged. It was pale at first, uncertain, testing the air as though surprised to find it there. Then it grew. Slowly, deliberately. Pushing aside what had been laid to prevent exactly this sort of thing, the plant did not hurry, it did not ask permission, it simply grew. When the bud formed, it carried a faint blue shimmer, like moonlight remembered rather than seen. Its petals were closed, folded inward not in fear, but in patience. This was a moonflower. According to every schedule Arkhon had ever written, it should not have existed here. Moonflowers bloomed only under irregular light, broken cycles, wandering shadows, nights that refused to behave. They followed no clock but their own, and yet here it was, in the center of the straightest line the dream worlds had ever known. The petals opened, not all at once, not dramatically, just enough, and when they did, the sound emerged. Plim, small, clear, alive. It was not loud enough to wake anything that slept, but it was not meant to. The sound did not travel by volume, it moved by difference. The resonance fence reacted instantly. White noise thickened around the point of emergence, pressing inward, attempting to smooth the anomaly back into silence. Frequencies adjusted, harmonies recalibrated, but the sound did not vanish. It slipped between the layers. The fence searched for threat parameters and found none. The signal carried no aggression, no destabilizing pattern, no intent at all. It was not an alarm, it was not a warning, it was simply, wrong, a note that did not belong to the chord. And because everything else was so perfectly quiet, it could be heard from very far away. The moonflower stood alone in the gray geometry, its blue glow faint but unmistakable. It did not spread, it did not multiply, it did not challenge the system surrounding it. It existed, and that, it seemed, was enough. Beneath the pathway, roots stirred. Not in rebellion, but in recognition. Somewhere, far beyond the maintenance sectors and measured lines, something in the dream world shifted its attention. Life, it turned out, had not been removed, only delayed, and now, having found the smallest possible opening, it had returned. Not with force, but with a sound no system had ever been designed to erase. Plim,
Scene 2. Little Mai and the Unbearable Lightness of Boredom.
Someone was awake. This, in itself, was already a violation. Little Mai sat cross-legged at the edge of the maintenance pathway, boots dangling over geometry that had been designed without any intention of dangling. The white noise of the resonance fence washed over her like a dull, endless lecture. She yawned, not politely, not quietly, honestly. She muttered to no one in particular, "If this is perfection, it's the dullest thing I've ever survived." Arkhon's order did not frighten her, it did not impress her, it bored her to the bone. Her eyes caught the faint blue glow before the system did, or perhaps at the same moment. But unlike the system, Little Mai did not need to categorize what she saw before reacting. She slid off the edge and padded closer. "Well, hello," she said, crouching beside the Moonflower. "You're certainly in the wrong place." The flower answered by opening a fraction more. "Plim." Little Mai's grin spread slowly, dangerously. "Oh, that's good," she said, "that's very good." The ground vibrated. From the far end of the pathway, something approached. Heavy, measured, offended by the very idea of irregularity. A guardian unit emerged from the haze of white noise, its surface smooth and reflective, its movements precise enough to be reassuring to anyone who liked being reassured by machines. Its voice was calm, perfectly calm. "Unscheduled organic material detected," it intoned. "Please step aside while the anomaly is removed." Little Mai tilted her head. "Removed?" The guardian advanced one step. "This zone is not designated for growth." She looked from the towering construct to the tiny blue flower, then back again, and then she laughed. Not a gentle laugh, not a warm one. It was sharp, bright, and cutting. An edge of sound that sliced straight through the white noise like a thrown knife. The resonance fence faltered for a fraction of a second. Little Mai laughed harder. "Oh, this is priceless," she said. "You're afraid of that?" The guardian paused, its systems recalculated. Laughter did not register as a hostile action, it did not fit any threat profile. Little Mai stood, hands on her hips, eyes glittering. "A whole mountain of metal," she went on, "and one flower makes you wobble. I'd be insulted if I were you." She knelt again, uncorked the small bottle at her belt, and poured water carefully at the Moonflower's roots. "Here," she said loudly, deliberately, "grow, you idiot, grow so big that this tin can trips over you." The guardian's arm lifted. "Interference will escalate corrective measures," it warned. Little Mai looked up at it, unimpressed. "You can try," she said cheerfully. The Moonflower's glow deepened, just slightly. The resonance fence surged, its white noise thickening, straining to drown out the laughter, the voice, the sound that refused to behave. But Little Mai's presence did something the system could not compensate for. She was not resisting, she was not attacking, she was enjoying herself, and that, somehow, was worse. The guardian hesitated again. Somewhere deep within Arkhon's logic, a question formed that had no acceptable answer. What does one do with a being who does not care whether she is safe? Little Mai leaned closer to the flower and whispered, conspiratorially, "Don't worry, you're doing great." Then she looked back at the machine and grinned. "Now then," she said, "which one of us do you think is the real problem here?" The system did not reply. And in that silence, something fragile and unstoppable took another root.
Scene 3. When the glass began to sing.
High above Sector 4, where the maintenance pathways dissolved into orderly distance, the new home rose in layered terraces of light and glass, its balconies faced outward, away from the dream worlds, as though turning one's back were a form of safety. Thinksy lay curled beneath a thin blanket of regulated warmth. Sleep had come to her easily these days, not the deep, restorative kind, but the heavy, drifting sort that arrives when there is nothing left to expect. The walls around her, perfectly clear, perfectly sealed, kept out wind, dust, and sound. They were designed that way. Nothing unexpected was meant to reach this height, and yet, a vibration passed through the glass, so faint at first that it could have been dismissed as temperature settling, or the distant hum of Arkhon's systems adjusting themselves. The steady white noise of the resonance fence flowed on, unbroken, reassuring in its sameness. Then the vibration returned, not stronger, just clearer. The glass answered it. Hum, pain. Thinksy stirred, her brow furrowed as the sound slipped past sleep and into awareness. The balcony wall shimmered, not visibly cracking, not failing, but resonating, as though something on the other side had found precisely the right way to touch it. The sound did not belong here. She opened one eye. Far below, between the pale lines of the maintenance pathway, 2 points of color moved against the gray, a small, steady blue glow. And beside it, a sharp flicker of red. Thinksy pushed herself upright. Color. She had not realized how long it had been since she had seen any. Not properly, not like this. The sight tugged at something quiet inside her, something that had been dim for so long it had almost stopped aching. The glass hummed again. Hum, pain. Thinksy placed her hand against it. The vibration met her palm, gentle but insistent, like a question that refused to be ignored. The walls were meant to isolate her, to protect her from noise, from chaos, from the world below, but the sound was already inside. In her chest, a faint warmth stirred, not duty, not alarm, curiosity. She leaned closer to the glass, watching the red figure's sharp movements, the way the blue light pulsed in response. The rhythm was uneven, improper, alive. Without quite deciding to, Thinksy began to hum. It was tentative at first, barely more than breath shaped into tone. She matched the glass as best he could, following the strange, wavering frequency that made her bones feel lighter. The wall responded, its hum shifted. No longer perfectly aligned with Arkhon's steady drone. The sound grew rougher at the edges, slipping out of tune, climbing where it was not supposed to climb. Below, the white noise pressed harder, trying to smooth the disturbance away. Above it, Thinksy's hum rose. Glass and voice wavered together, not breaking, not winning. Just refusing to settle. For the first time in a very long while, Thinksy smiled. The new home did not collapse, the walls did not shatter, but something in their perfect silence had begun to sing back, and somewhere between the steady hum of order and the trembling note of dissonance, the first true crack had formed. Not in glass, but in certainty itself.